This is the Nomad Futurist podcast, a podcast about the evolution of technology, society, and transformation. Connect with us, share your thoughts with us at nomadfuturist.com. Let's get this started. Here are Phil and Nabeel. Hello. Welcome to Nomad Futurist. This is your co-host Nabeel Mahmood from Kona, Hawaii.
This is your co-host Philip Koblenz from Montclair, New Jersey.
And Sean Farney from the lovely hamlet of Mukwonago, Wisconsin.
And Conall Farney, son of Sean Farney from the beautiful West Lafayette, Indiana.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. You are our second father-son duo. This is going to be an interesting one for sure. Sean, saw you out in Hawaii. Great seeing you in person. It's been a while. I'm glad we got past the COVID debacle, or at least to some degree. Well, let's start with you. What do you do? What are you up to these days?
Well, I like to say I'm a data center nerd, but most of your guests can probably say that. I'm in JLL and I do business development, but what I really do is develop the data center products and services. So we do everything from find you digital dirt to run your data center to help you retrofit it or dispose of it. And we're putting some really exciting new AI-powered facility management products into play. And Kyle and I were driving up to a snowmobile trip a few weeks ago, way up north, Wisconsin. And we spent a few hours with our friend ChatGPT, asking it how we could use AI to run data centers better, which was like this cool, like kind of ironic juxtaposition of cool things.
Who better to ask about AI than AI?
That's right. I think it became a sentient being at that very moment. But so I love data center stuff. Been in the space a long time. That built them, run them, have run a data center company, and data center nerd in all kinds of different ways. And it's great to get out on the road and see folks like yourself out at the various conferences and speak in panels and write content, books, and all that type of thing. So data centers are near and dear to my heart. That's what I do.
Well, thank you very much. And I think, Sean, you went a little bit too humble on your introduction. Sean is also an adjunct professor and instructor at Northwestern University. He's got a very strong background. He's been with organizations like Rockwell Automation, Kohler, the Boston Consulting Group, and a few others to name along the way. And a little tiny
Not to
company
mention the huge award display behind him. My God, he's an award-winning.
That's the wall. That's the wall of fame.
Amazing! Holy cow!
So, okay,
I think I see an Emmy. I think I see an Emmy back there.
It's a data center Emmy.
You're getting an Academy Award?
No, it's a Ken Brill Award. Who knows what a Ken Brill Award is? So for the guy who used to run the Uptime Institute, they used to give out data center-y awards. That was for the when I was at Microsoft, we deployed data centers and containers back in the day, 08, 09. That was cutting edge back then.
It's still cutting edge.
Yeah, we're still doing it, strangely enough.
Well, at the very least, it's still edge. See it?
Yes.
See what I did?
The edge is here. The edge is here. It's finally here.
It's no longer cutting edge. It's just the edge. All right. Well, Sean, thank you very much for the quick intro. Conall, let's start with you. Well, of course, you're a son of Sean Farney, the legend.
I did love that Game of Thrones type of introduction. My name is Conall Farney, son of Sean Farney. That was have to represent where I can. Well, I might not be a adjunct professor at Northwestern, but I'm currently a student at a university, the wonderful Purdue University. Shout out Purdue, boiler up. I am a senior there, so I'm almost done. It's a very bittersweet thing. I don't like to talk about it. I might start crying. 4 years of college is almost over, and I'm a little bit sad about it, but we'll get past that. Outside of my student life here at Purdue, I don't have any, tenured professional data center experience or anything, but I have had the awesome experience of working several different internships and jobs in a bunch of different sectors and industries and in the big technology world doing a little bit of consulting work, some applications engineering, technical product management, engineering project management, some cybersecurity work as well. So all over the board there. The bottom line is I love technology. I love using it. I love working with it. And just as much as I love technology, I also love working with people. So if there's technology involved, if there's people involved, count me in. I'm right there in the intersection point. Without the great people running the technology, it wouldn't work. So that's a little bit more about me.
Eat that, ChatGPT.
There you go. It's the HI. It's no longer AI. All right. Hey, how is it, just out of curiosity, how is it working for Robert Lee?
He is a great, great leader. He has really done a wonderful job with the whole Dragos platform, started back in 2016 and where it is today, working for them as an intern now. It's really, really cool. And he's done a lot of great things in the cybersecurity world and industry for education with SANS and, making a big impact in the world with Dragos. It's been a great experience. And I'm actually really, really excited to come hear him talk here at Purdue in about a month. In late March, he's coming here to do a keynote talk at a big security symposium here. So I'll get to meet him in person in March. So I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Outstanding. Well, just because of that, we're going to send him an invite to come out to Nomad Futurist as well.
Sure.
Good. All right. Okay. So, Conall, before we get to know your dad a little bit more, how was it like growing up for Sean? How was that, that experience? I mean, I know you were handed off Lego data centers at the age of 8. How was it keeping up with your dad?
Yeah. So I owe a lot to my father in that degree. It was always really cool being able to grow up in a household that always had, the latest, greatest technology, and to be surrounded by those resources was something that I will always be thankful for. But yeah, like you said, whether it was Legos or whether it was in the workshop, I was always someone that was a physical builder. I love to build things and take things apart. I always had that kind of STEM engineering mind. So to have a dad that was, aligned with me in that aspect really helped carve me and shape me to be the person I am today in the technology industry. And so it was really, really great for me. It let me, kind of itch that part in my brain that allowed me to develop skills that I could then use in high school and got me here at Purdue learning all the cool technology that I am today. So it was a really, really great experience, and it was everything that I hoped for.
Outstanding. I mean, I can see in Sean's eye right now, like how proud is he of you? I mean, that's like, if we can capture this moment, I mean, this is it, right? I mean, this is the future. You're going to hand off.
See, I read that totally differently. I read Sean being proud of himself for creating Conall. Like that was all like, where's my award? Well, if it's so instrumental, my shelf is lacking. There's a space right there.
Great. Right. Huh? I'm sure I'll get that.
Dad of the decade.
I'll get on making the hand carved technology.
Did he not get you a 3D printer? What kind of father are you? Where's the 3D printer, man?
It needs to be like one of those ceramic things, they got kids make in kindergarten. Like you can't even tell what it is. It's like a blob of ceramic, and it's got, dad carved.
At least that was ceramic. I'm still holding on to candles. My kids went to candle making, and it's kind of, I don't even know what it is. It's crazy, but it's in the drawer that has everything in it. It has one of those weird candles.
Take them out of the drawer, Phil.
You think? No, I can't. Are you kidding this? It's
all right.
looking. Do you credit your father's? So my father is to this day a jeweler, and I grew up knowing as cool as that was, shiny, bright side of shiny objects. I could not have gone in a further direction from what my father was doing. In fact, like to this day, like I don't think of jewelry as something like to my wife's chagrin. It's just not something that I attach a whole lot of greatness to. You obviously went towards technology. Do you credit your father for that desire to go towards technology?
So there's definitely credit there. I definitely would credit him. I think he did a very, very good job at making sure that I was doing something that I wanted to do with my life as well. It was never, I love technology, so you have to, or I work in technology, so you have to, I work with data centers. I want you to work with data centers. It was never that. It was more of the by association of this is really cool work. Hey, Conall, this is what I'm working on, or come tour this data center with me, or, bring your child to work day. I was immersed in this world of technology. And because of that, it gave me this idea of, wow, maybe this is something that I want to do. And it also didn't hurt to be looking at these, in middle school and high school, to be looking at these starting salaries of these people in the technology industry versus someone else in a different industry and going, wow, I can do this and make some pretty good money too. It might be something I want to look into. So that was definitely something that was like, that's a good benefit of technology is you get paid well too. And there's probably a job shortage no matter what I'm going to go into. because back then it was probably not created yet, whatever we were looking at or researching at the time. So that's another really good benefit there too as well.
Do you have any other siblings?
I do. Yes. I have a sister, older sister.
And she in technology as well, or she chose not to?
She's not. She's actually a social worker at a private school in the Milwaukee area. So very opposite of technology.
She sounds super selfish.
Look, I found Molly made me this though. Here's the dad, the king dad.
Oh, I love it.
Thing. Speaking of ceramics,
I see the resemblance.
Perfect. Use other skills. Yes.
All right. So why did Molly not come into this environment, Sean? Did she not get the same exposure as Conall?
Radically, no. She got the exact same exposure. Radically different wiring and personality. Molly was from an early age. She was a camp counselor, actually right down the road here in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, helping kids out, and that gravitated to that and comes around a teacher and always has been. And that was just a natural thing for her in what she chose. And she chose that path. With my not so subtle, like Jedi mind trick to influence without influencing was to show starting salaries to both the kids while they were in high school. And that wasn't a great appeal to Molly. She wanted to do something kind of higher and better. But I think Conall saw some of those numbers and it worked out.
Screw those kids. I'm going to go into the data center industry.
That's right. You guys would be stunned by how much young adults coming out of a school like Purdue who can code are starting at. It's incredible, the opportunity out there.
I was just going to say that, Molly might be doing a drastically different, line of work in a drastically different field, working with drastically different clients and people, but just as important as technology is to us in data centers and whatever it may be, technology is still what's making her school's computer system run. And all those things are still playing an everyday role more and more every single day. Technology is being absorbed by those young kids that she's helping out at a rate that is unimaginable to what, when I was growing up or to when my dad was growing up. It's a completely different landscape now. So just as much as she might differ from me or, my dad's line of work in technology, she still deals with technology on an everyday basis. And it's still a part of her life just as much it is ours,
I think it's an incredibly important point. The self-awareness that you're showing just by, recognizing that everyone is so reliant upon technology and the exposure that you got with your dad, recognizing that we are essentially the enablers of that technology it's incredibly respected.
Yeah, I think Conall, you fit Conall, I'll just say this. You fit the mold Phil and I set forth as far as our foundation and the whole initiative is concerned. I mean, you are so far, don't know you that well, by the last 10 minutes, you so far have set forth the right tone of what we are looking to do for the next generation.
And the convergence of culture and technology over time, I am fascinated by this because my generation and Nabeel and Joe as well, like we were not digital natives. We were digital builders. We built this stuff. I ran token ring cable and Apple Talk and built servers and data centers, but we didn't have email growing up. We didn't have internet. We literally were the generation that built that. But Molly, the forthcoming generations, they're digital natives. They grow up with it. They know it. It's infused in their culture and their being. So to Conall's point, it's part of life. There's no occupation or company or value stream that doesn't include tech now. And I feel very blessed to have been part of that building of that. And it's interesting. I'm the first party in 3 generations to not be an electrician or electrical contractor. So, Farneys built the Sears Tower in Chicago and McCormick Place in Chicago. And so I kind of get a little bit of the hard time from the family for that. But I like to say that me and Conall, we're 21st century electricians. This is the next iteration of building infrastructure. The internet is the electricity of 21st century. So it's that over time, and technology is fascinating to me.
Well, I think what's one utility to another.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I think is an important point, and when you have this kind of multi-generational exposure to technology, which is really difficult to capture typically, on a podcast like this, you have the recognition that, with Conall's generation and the kids that are growing up with access to technology in a matter of fact way, they're, the foundational elements of it, the stuff that we built because we were just at the right place at the right time when this stuff came up, it's obfuscated to them because it's just, it's magic. It just works. When we talk about this all the time, my kids are 10 and 6. So they're future Conall and, they are learning in school how Google Classroom works and they're using all these tools that they end up using, much more capably than we do. I mean, they're the way they were using an iPad before they were able to talk was really, it was amazing. But they never had to learn, and there's no, foundational training about why all that technology works. So when the internet goes down, they turn into Neanderthals, just banging on the thing, trying to make it work. And that's, that connective tissue that is like you being, us collectively being the generation that straddled that before digital era and now. Our goal is to try to essentially like do to the youth what Conall had the exposure to by being in a household with someone that essentially built the underlying infrastructure that powers our digital world. So it's a really unique way to kind of connect the world and explain it.
So Sean, I've got a question for you. From what you just saw, that you come from a background of electricians, right? Electrical organizations, so on and so forth. Looking at your profile, I mean, you started your career in education and philosophy. Share. I mean, that's kind of very interesting. I mean, electricians to philosophy and education to data centers. I mean, that whole journey, what was it like?
Yeah, I was shocked that I got to where I am today. But back in the 80s, to date myself.
1980s, Conall, not 1880s. Stop looking that way.
We did have
back in the Great Depression.
Yeah. Tell you, kid. So in the 80s, I was fascinated by computers, right? This was, 1980, TRS-80, loading data with a cassette tape. I mean, this is the dark ages of technology, but it fascinated me. And, computers in high school was a mainframe, but I thought it was just so cool. And it blew me away and I wanted to play with it and study it. But in the 80s, at the college level, there wasn't that. There wasn't the plugging and connecting and figuring out and breaking and fixing. So philosophy it was just a default major to pick something because that's kind of fun, learning how to think and the history of thought. But every year I worked in the computer lab at Miami University, my undergrad university, and just was, again, plugging in AppleTalk and Token Ring and integrating Macs and Next boxes, if anyone remembers those, along with front-end controllers and in original IBM PC stuff. So it was fascinating. But what I wanted to do and study just didn't exist yet. So I did the philosophy thing. And then my first job out of school was computer sales, selling Macs in 1993. And then from there was this path that just led through sales and then tech support, tech consulting, first startup, got into servers. I was a hotshot Novell CNE, really want to date myself to go way, way back. And then got into networks, built ATM LANs forever ago, which then switching came along. And so just got into it, just like to play and like to connect. And again, kind of extending the electrician metaphor, like to plug cables in to make them longer and broader and do cool things with them. And that's what, in the early days, that's what it was. You were literally plugging stuff in, bridging, and then switching networks and then routing networks. And I did all that stuff, server certs and Cisco certs and all that type of thing. And got my first big break in 08. The guy I used to work with, Mike Manos, mentioned him earlier, told me he was running the data center program at Microsoft and was hired to finish construction of what at that time was a big facility, 120 megawatts with the containers. And I jumped on and did that and then ran it in. And that was kind of how I fell in love with the space. It was the the commingling of mechanical and electrical and network and bits and bytes and cool stuff and operations at massive scale. And Microsoft did a trading firm, data center startup in Chicago, started and ran an edge data center company 10 years ago before that was a thing, and have done a lot of digital transformation work, and most recently with Kohler and now JLL. So really am lucky to be in such a growing and exciting space and have some of those scars and gray hairs from crawling around and doing and plugging and building and ripping apart, which has really helped seed this perspective. And it's just a blast. I have fun every day doing it, and it's just really rewarding to see now that the next generation doing this stuff and the stuff they're studying. That's what I wish I had. What Conall's doing with AI and machine learning and building robots and all this super cool stuff I would have just loved to do.
There's still time to go back to school, Sean. You can still experience it.
I'm done. I'm good. I got my master's.
I'm done. I'm good.
I do want to add, though, I don't want to sit here and listen to you, Dad, downplay the importance of something like, liberal arts in school, because as important as everything that I said is with technology and being in that computer lab, unplugging stuff and building things and coding, that's all great. But in today's world, more than ever, someone is only going to be successful in the technology industry if they know people as well. You have to know people. You have to understand people. There's someone behind that computer. There's someone running that data center. There's someone, in that back end designing that website. And just as important it is to look at that piece of Python code or JavaScript and say, I understand this. You have to look at that developer and say, I understand you. You have to know people. And a lot of the times at a lot of schools and programs, you're not getting that social technical balance. Lucky enough, Purdue has allowed me to kind of design my own degree. So along with, a computer and information technology major, I'm also getting a business management minor. So I'm getting exposure to leadership courses, to entrepreneurship classes, to social situations that someone who might be spending all their time in a computer lab isn't typically getting. What does that do? That opens you up. That allows you to build a personal brand. That allows you to talk about technology. That allows you to make technology more ingestible for everyone around you and make the world a better place.
You're going to sell.
This was so good. This is perfectly scripted. I mean, the next thing I was going to talk about was the human intelligence piece. And there you go, Conall. Gosh, Phil, let's just hire Conall as to be one of our millennial ambassadors.
I'll just leave myself on mute. That's fine. This is the easiest interview I've ever had to give. I think we say this all the time, when you're running any business really, but it's as true for data center businesses as it is for anything else. A huge portion of what you do is psychology. It's, how you talk to a customer, how you talk to a vendor, how you talk to an employee and a coworker. So point taken, no doubt that, I think if somebody came to me and said, we talk to a lot of people that are fully into, getting straight into the trades into the data center. And it's a great pathway. And there's no question that it is. And there's a shortage of trade people that are specific to our industry. But if somebody asks me what the value of a college education is, I don't necessarily talk about course load and coursework, because so much of what I did, I graduated college at the turn of the century, as they say, in the year 2000. And, I don't think that I can point to a single piece of coursework that I leverage specifically in my day-to-day interaction. But the social interactions that I learned by, being on my own and dealing with kind of getting through school and all that were so much more valuable and usable in a day-to-day that I think the social element of school, whether you're picking that up through being a philosophy major or taking courses, outside of, maybe your major or engineering or whatever, but just the social interaction that you have on a college campus, being on your own, being given that kind of runway and that leash is so infinitely more valuable than any specific piece of coursework that I think, what you said resonates entirely for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Conall will be the first one to tell you that his tenure as president of his fraternity probably was more valuable than any class he took there at Purdue. That was even obvious from the outside. And it's funny, back in the olden days, the computer stuff was all just pure nerdery and geekery, right? And that's all it was. It was off in a corner in a closet and wasn't cool. And now it is cool and it's forefront to everyone's value prop.
Now it's redundantly cool.
Yeah, it's too end cool.
Right. There you go. Wow. Spoken like a nerd.
That's a dad joke. That was a dad joke. Conall, you don't understand this yet, but eventually your jokes get really cheesy. It's just part of it.
He knows. He's low eyes firsthand.
But you think it's not going to happen to you. And it
will happen to you. So Sean, 1993, you started working for Apple. You're starting to sell Apple computers. I mean, that wasn't even a brand back then.
That was fruit.
Yeah, I had my first computer was a Macintosh, an SE with external, not even a hard drive, just 2 floppy drives. So I just happened to know Macs, right? And it was so different. That graphical user interface was radical in the late 80s, early 90s. It was a big deal. And I thought it was just such a cool thing how we can, in high school, doing like assembler in COBOL, and then fast forward to college and you got this graphical user interface. And I just knew like, wow, this is the thing. Like our world, this is going to be taken over. It's going to be running the world. And here we are years later. And that's scary to the extent that is true now. But it was, that's how I got, that was the origin story. I got a Mac as my first computer, had it in my dorm room. And then my first job was selling them.
You imagine how quickly Conall would fall asleep if he turned on that computer and started using it?
I'm sure that Mac is extremely similar to the MacBook Pro next to me with the M2 chip in it. I bet you the processing power.
I think if do you have a calculator outside of your, for like just a regular standalone calculator, it's probably closer in processing power to the calculator in your desk drawer.
I have a slide. There's a slide I use in a lecture which shows the advancement of.
He still uses a slide.
Yeah, I do. I have a slide per lecture, and it shows the increase over time from my first computer to today's computer in processing power and memory. And it's orders of magnitude. It's amazing. It's like a Moore's law chart, right? Just to show in one generation what's happened to tech and its impact on the world. It's really cool.
But that thing is what's missing. That wonderment is what's missing. And it's difficult. Like, look, you look through Conall, through your life, you had, when you were born, what year were you born?
2001.
2001. All right. So what the year the first iPhone came out when you were what, 5 years old? 6 years old, right? So the first iPhone to now is drastically, but it's not it's not close to as drastically different as the computer that your dad started using that made him like fascinated with the idea of computing and what you use today as a computer. And I think that gap is what is missing from trying to engage like the younger folks in that excitement about what we do. It's difficult if you think about it from like iPhone 12 to iPhone 13 to iPhone 14. These are fairly nominal changes. Yes, the camera is better and et cetera, et cetera. But what we have seen in our generation from like a computer being maybe a word processing device to, what you think about as compute now it's difficult to articulate. And I think if you experienced it, you got so excited by it that you just wanted to do this for a living. And I think our goal with the Nomad Futurist Foundation, with the podcast, with what we're trying to do we're trying to inject that excitement so that people understand why we're just starting. I mean, this industry is only a little bit older than you. So we're just getting started. It's crazy.
Yeah. And of course, Sean's going to put a slide out, totally age us, Phil.
Yeah. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. I let the record show I was born in 1978 in the middle of the year. So when that TRS 80 was out, I was still sucking my thumb. I mean, I still suck my thumb now, but for other reasons.
I was programming that thing in 1978.
All right. So Conall, knowing what you know today and having gone through some absolute phenomenal experiences, what it sounds like, what are your aspirations? What are you looking forward to doing in the upcoming 5 to 10 years?
That is a great question that I wish I had a great answer for, but I really don't. Like I said earlier, I want to be working with people in technology. One thing that I could definitely see myself doing, outside of the typical, I want to start my own company, run my own company, entrepreneurship answer, is I've taken a recent interest in possibly venture capital. Just because I feel like venture capital, especially when you center that in the technology world, there's so many cool technology companies and there's so many cool, smart people out there that are starting these companies and innovating technology to the next big thing. I think it would be really, really cool to work with those people and to be there in the early stages of their development, whether it's the company or the person or the technology. I could see myself doing something like that. I could see myself in the data center industry. I could see myself in the semiconductor industry. I could see myself in the cybersecurity industry. There's so many different paths that I could see myself in. But the bottom line is I want to help people and I want to be in a world and a room full of technology and full of nerdy people that enjoy talking about technology.
I would say you could not have I'm going to question either you're so freaking good or you prep for this thing forever. I mean, you could not have actually put it any better than that. I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. I think that's one of the things that's lacking in the industry and even in the next generation, that there's that lack of direction. And having that clarity speaks very well for your upbringing and of course, an immaculate job that Sean has done in giving you the skill set, the knowledge base, and the exposure, experience, and opportunities to get to where you're at in your career. I'm 100% positive you're gonna have a very, very successful career, and you're gonna be a great contributor in making positive impact for the rest of the world and your peers. So thank you. You're on the right path.
Sean really earned his creepy looking friend.
I'll be the proud papa and brag, because Conall didn't brag on himself, but he accepted, and I was extremely envious of this position. He is and has been a senior who accepted a full-time job offer like months ago. He's going to work for ARM, which is a semiconductor chip manufacturer. He was interning with them last summer in Austin.
No wonder he's so relaxed.
Right, he has a job. He's a college student. He's got a job.
You don't even need to pass. Just flunk out. Who cares? You got the job. What difference does it make?
Yeah.
All right.
So I was just going to quick shout out to ARM, quick shout out to Purdue, obviously ARM, Dragos, who I'm interning for right now. All great companies, but
does Dragos know that you're going to ARM?
They do.
Yeah. No? Okay. All right. Damn it.
Yeah.
Controversy.
No, all great companies, and another little connection to ARM there, Austin, Texas. Was there this past summer. Amazing place. Highly recommend Texas, specifically Austin, to anybody. It's a little bit more.
The home of weirdos.
It is a home of weirdos, but it's also a home of awesome technology and great food.
And it's the home of DCAC. So Conall will get probably his first taste of the data center conference a little bit later.
There you go.
It's also the home of data center world. Nabeel and I will be, and Nabeel and I will be performing. I guess performing is not there. Talking.
Right.
Sean, I mean, you've done an absolutely phenomenal job. I mean, I typically ask the question, what would you do differently? But it doesn't really sound like that there's anything different that you can do, either for yourself or for Conall. I mean, you've done a phenomenal job. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, guys. This is a wonderful thing you do. And I like the openness and the discussion. And again, going back to the foundation, what you're doing for the industry, that just need more of this type of thing. And it's just wonderful.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Outstanding. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. This has been absolutely phenomenal. Sean, thank you again for what you have done and continue to do. Conall, welcome to the industry, and look forward to seeing you grow within the industry and being one of our advocates.
For sure. Thank you so much.
We'll see you on the road, guys.
A great day. Bye-bye.
This has been great. Nothing lasts forever. Markets will come back, currencies will rebound, businesses will go on, and we'll all move on. That could happen next week, next month, or next year. I'm confident that those who prepare rather than panic will come out of this stronger. Thank you for joining us. This has been brought to you by Nomad Futurist. Check us online at nomadfuturist.com.